course. They're thieves. They're dirty. Um, they they don't have an education. They lower class. Don't get married, which is weird. I don't know about that. But that's weird. They don't care. Um, they don't care about like why the Bronx is dirty. They don't care about their environment. They steal. They rob. They have guns. They shoot people. A bunch of crazy stuff. So Fordham's definition of diverse is very different from my definition of diverse. When I think about diversity, I think about different races, different faces, different cultures. But when Fordham thinks about diversity, they think about different states. So we have students that come from all 50 states. That's what they think about when they think about diverse. They don't really see the race portion of this. So no, Fordham is not diverse for that reason. For my definition of diverse. Yes. Um, I've ran into white students who actually have told me that they've never met a black or Latino person ever in their life because they've lived in these little bubbles in their hometown, in their small hometown like Kentucky. And it's crazy to me that they have never seen anyone outside of their own race, one, but also that they have never experienced anything outside of their own culture. Um, and I just think they live in this little bubble and they don't want to pop it, which is why they hang out with white students, which is why they come to Fordham, a predominantly white university, and they don't realize that it's in the Bronx until you get here. I think it depends on the professor a lot, because I know the professors in the African and African American Studies department, they don't have that preconceived notion of like the Bronx, and because they've been here for a while and they don't really feed into those stereotypes. But I know other professors probably do. Like when you tell them you're a commuter, they automatically assume you're from the Bronx. So like you coming late to class because of traffic or things like that, they're just like, wow, like another student doesn't care about their time here or things like that. So I think there are professors that do look down on you, but there are others who don't care because they understand.
Ghetto. Sadly, I mean, I'm kind of ghetto too, but I feel like they just think that we're always ready to start something, like an issue or problem, not knowing themselves that they bring it upon themselves. I haven't had an experience with a professor like that, but I do feel like they have that, oh, they're lazy. That's what I feel in anything.
I notice it in the way I dress sometimes. Sometimes I want to come to school in sweatpants and sneakers, and I feel like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna be judged. Like I'm gonna look, because other people could do it, but when I look, like for example, my hair right now, like I feel like if I go to school like this, I'm gonna look like a crazy person. So I tend to like, constantly have my hair just put back. I don't really wear my hair out. I've noticed as much. Just the way I speak sometimes, I've noticed kind of changes when I'm speaking to kids from campus versus how I speak when I'm home. Very different. I do. I think it's necessary to be made aware of situations that are going on in the area, but I also think that sometimes the way they're sent out, it's like in a blast. Like there's one that happens every single day. That's how I feel. And instead of, I think there's something that needs to be done about that. Just that goes back to like educating those who are coming here to the Bronx. Like you can't walk outside at 4 a.m. with your iPhone 10. Like that's just putting you at risk for anything. So I think you need to educate the students on how to conduct themselves.
I do feel like an outcast, and I don't think that the community on purpose wants to make me feel like an outcast. I just know that I'm not part of the community per se. Definitely feel like they're scared of us, and like I remember one year here, I don't know when. We were talking about spring weekend, and I was like, why don't we have like some cooler kind of people, and they were just like, oh no, like, you know, the people from the other side of the fence will like jump in, and I'm like, the other side of the fence, like I live on the other side of the fence, like what do you mean? I've lived there all my life and I wouldn't jump over. But there's that. I feel like I show a lot from the Bronx because like you can be born in the Bronx and raised, and then you can like embrace it or you don't, you know, and I embraced it a lot. And I feel like you know that I'm from the Bronx as soon as I speak. So when I'm around like Caucasian students, it's hard to like fit in and like express myself because I can feel the vibe that it's like, oh, like she's dumb or something, or like, you know, like the belittle thing. I do. And this is not all of them per se, because I do have Fordham friends that are very open and they're like fascinated by my like struggled lifestyle. But then there's other ones that are like, I don't even want to be next to you kind of thing. And it's like, you know, it's okay. They don't give us a try, especially with the whole gated, like outside of the gates. That definitely like just did this like bloom in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, like I would have never thought that people saw like the Bronx or like my kind of people that I've grown up with all my life as like different. Like I thought we were cool. Like I thought that we were like, you know, like I didn't think that they would be anything to be afraid of. Like honestly, and I've been living in the Bronx for 18 years now, and I have not had anything bad happen to me yet, you know. And I feel like it's the way that you come out. If you do show that you're like disgusted by my people or that you're scared of us, like, you know, you may have somebody feel bad and stuff. But I do feel like they live in a bubble. But I don't feel like it's their fault. I feel like it's like ignorance to like not knowing any better, because you don't have friends from the Bronx and stuff. But I definitely do feel like they live in a bubble.
That's a tough question. I would say, for the most part, when I'm around people who are willing to engage with me, I definitely do feel welcome. A big part of me feeling unwelcome usually is with campus security. I've noticed definitely at a higher rate than most of the other students here, I get stopped often and asked to present my ID in smaller forms when clearly my face is on the ID tab. So I don't know if it's just I look different now, but that's something that I know has been happening a lot. Even when students don't have an ID, I've been coming on campus where students don't have an ID and they're allowed in, and with my ID I'm stopped. I know that I dress like a local, so I get a lot of interesting looks from security coming in. But for the most part, whenever I'm in a class and we're in that setting, I haven't had any harsh interactions with people. For sure. The main reason why I feel that way is because, I mean, how can you blame them? They're not from here. This is almost like a fantasy land. That's how I look at it. They come here for school, so they're very wide-eyed. It's a new experience for all of them. The biggest, I guess, way that I notice this is just the way that people who live here react to other people who commute. I haven't really made friends with anybody who isn't a commuter. And I feel like it's a tribalism almost, like they come together and stay together because that's what they know, that's what they see every day. Mostly that they're broke. I've heard that a lot. I've had people, another one too is whenever I tell people I'm from the Bronx, halfway through the class, whether it be a professor or a student, I typically get oh, you speak very well by the end of the semester. So it kind of cues me in on how they think people from here should speak or how they should sound. But yeah, besides that, nothing much. It's unfortunate because I would like them to experience the Bronx in a way that isn't connected to this school. And I know that's hard to rationalize because they're coming here and that's why they're here, but it's the only interaction they get with the Bronx. Because it's such a different world in here, in these gates, than in the actual area, they never really get an idea of what our culture is about and and it's a very inclusive culture. I don't think it's a negative thing. I'm positive that if they dug into the community and got to know people, they'll see how giving the Bronx is, more so than a lot of different boroughs in New York. But definitely just having a wholesome experience with the Bronx separate from the school, I think will be the most important.
As a commuter, I don't really feel that much welcome. Like, yes, there's a commuter lounge, but not everybody has time to go to the commuter lounge and make friends. But like, it's really not how people say, like, a commuter, you're welcome. It's not like that. Fordham has this view on the Bronx, like it's the Bronx and then it's Fordham, like it doesn't include itself inside the Bronx. We don't really see good. They don't really talk about the Bronx in a positive light. You only see the only reason that we know about the Bronx inside our emails and anything is if anything goes wrong. Not differently, but I would never let my professors know, oh, I'm from the Bronx. I just like to keep it to myself to prevent that, because we never know. Some people do have like this less than feeling, but also I had this one experience. I don't know if it was because I'm from the Bronx or because I do look Latina. Like you can't take that away from me. We was in math class and I asked a question and he responded to me in a rude way. He was like, oh, you don't know because it's probably the school that you went to, but that's nothing we could deal with now. So I was like, oh, okay, like you're not gonna embarrass me in front of everybody else just because I can't afford to get $1,000 tutoring and all of that. So I just like try to do things on my own. I don't know if I would say a bubble, but they don't really take the time to investigate what happens, like to know the culture of the Bronx. It's just like they're living in the Bronx because they live in Fordham, but Fordham does not represent the Bronx.
I feel comfortable, but at first when I got here, I didn't feel welcome. So I feel comfortable now, but in the beginning, I didn't feel welcome and I didn't feel very comfortable because I felt like I stood out, and I also felt like I wasn't up to par in the eyes of my classmates and sometimes even my professors. It's strange because it's true, like the people from the Bronx community, we are locals, we live here, but the way the word has a underlying meaning to it that's kind of demeaning in a way. Like being a local is kind of like you're from this outer community that is lower, that's like separate from like the gates of Fordham. I do, because I always say the story how my freshman year in orientation, the counselor at the time, she was talking about safety outside of the gates of Fordham, and the tone and the way she was talking about the Bronx as being dangerous and just Fordham provides a lot of different routes for their students to like get to the train or get to the other campus in center, and there's just so many. It's the tone and the speech that they use to talk about safety in the Bronx and at Fordham and what students at Fordham should do to avoid the dangers that the Bronx has and all these things. And I feel like that draws a disconnection and makes the students who come here from other states and from out of state, who aren't from New York City, it makes them feel like there's something to fear in a way. I've never had an experience where I think a professor of mine viewed me differently, but something that my professors do remind me of, not particularly that they don't remind me that I'm from the Bronx, but they do kind of remind me that I'm a HEOP student. Like I've had a few instances where my professors would say in the email as a HEOP student, and that just kind of made me feel like, okay, like, you know, I'm a HEOP student, but like, what is this it's like this underlying tone that's like, you're a HEOP student, this is not a HEOP student. So it's just that label kind of already brings up, I guess, a certain idea of who I am as a student.
I feel like they look at us differently. I feel like it's not the same. They have different opinions about us. Like, I feel like we're like the other. other students, when they know I'm from the Bronx, like their face changes and they'll ask me like, oh, where you from? I'll be like, I'm from the Bronx. And they're like, oh, you're from the Bronx. It just feels different. It feels like I'm excluded. It's disrespectful because I've grown up in the Bronx. I've been here all my life. I know the people that are here. And for them to say things that are not always true, it's disrespectful and it's hurtful. Yeah, I try to, especially on campus. I feel like I have to monitor the way that I speak. I think it's different from the way that I speak to like my friends outside of school, like my family.
Yes. When I attended, I got here in 1996. Again, like I said, I already had a few experiences because I was coming in since I was in junior high school. And the first year that I was on campus, someone came up to myself and my friends. They came up to us and they said, "You know something? One of you guys are not gonna make it." And we were all African American students, just walking the campus, and they were like, "You guys are here, and I guarantee you will not graduate." And that was the first time I experienced the racism here. Just being here in the Bronx, you have the botanical gardens, you have all these high schools and junior high schools and elementary schools that can benefit from the resources that are here in Fordham. So when the students are coming in, a part of that learning, that education, not just what comes from the books, but should be about service learning and about ways in which you can connect to the local schools or the hospitals, because at every sector of society or in every socioeconomic, we all need each other. And a place as rich as Fordham, where there are a lot of resources and we are teaching, educating these students to go out there and be of service to the world, why not start in the home where everybody from all across the nations are meeting? It's dope. The people, it's the place where hip hop began. So there's so much soul. There's so much soul here, and I invite every Fordham student, and even the students that are on their way here, is to don't bring your cultural conditionings here. Open up your heart, open up your mind, and be a service, not just to the people that you're going to meet, but to the community, and especially to yourself.